Hello and welcome to Trekkie Tuesdays. This episode is Mirror Mirror, which is indirectly the reason that I got into Star Trek at all as a kid. Sure, I would have happened across it eventually, but Diane Duane wrote this great novel sequel to it, same universe, Dark Mirror. I definitely recommend it. Recommend Diane Duane. I wish kind of that as a kid I'd read more Diane Duane and less Star Trek novelizations, but at the time I thought, oh, this book is good, therefore Star Trek is good. Star Trek is fine. So in this episode, I thought we'd hand it over to our Mirror Universe counterparts. I don't know, I enjoyed this break from the normally very dystopian Star Trek. You know, in the standard show, as we've talked about before, we see that even the elites in this culture, even like Kirk and Spock, are really weak-willed and adhere to these really ridiculous ethical principles. And the result is that they get their crew killed all of the time without the sense that they're like responsible for it. But there is so much death, and then they are never able to bring back any useful technology to Earth. They're constantly confronted with all of this, you know, all of the stuff that they could take back, and they just, for one reason or another, often for no reason at all, really, decline to plunder it. They use the term pirate in this episode to describe the perfectly reasonable practice of providing a decent return on investment for Earth's investment into the Enterprise. Anyway, so we see this brief break into sanity, where they are translated to a parallel universe, to a vastly more sensibly organized Enterprise. Like, it's harsh. I don't know if, like, daily torture is really the best way to incentivize people, but it's definitely better than Kirk's practices on the regular Enterprise, and they do get stuff done. It's almost a metaphysical moment, because we see Kirk talking to the Halkans at the start of the show, and the Halkans refuse to supply them with dilithium crystals because the Halkans have this extreme case of Kirk's, deontological nonsense, and they say they can't provide him with dilithium crystals because there's the slightest possibility they might use them in a forceful way in the future. And of course, this Kirk respects that. And is not going to take them by force, even though I feel like the Halkans are maybe kind of hinting that they want him to take it by force in order to resolve their ethical dilemma. So then Kirk tries to beam up through a storm, and he and his underlings find themselves in a world that reflects that sort of extremely pessimistic view that the Halkans have of them, pessimistic from the Halkans' point of view, and where they are indeed preparing to wipe out the Halkans, which, of course, from the point of view of a causal negotiation, is exactly what you should do in that situation, because then you never arrive at that counterfactual. If you're going to solidly derive meta-ethics from a consequentialist point of view, you do end up, very logically getting to the point where you are, having policies of wiping out civilizations that you hopefully never have to actually act on, because it's wasteful. But Spock is there and being very logical and doing the right thing. But by the end of the episode, Kirk has kind of persuaded him to maybe go in the other direction, or at least Spock lets him think that. I like to think Spock then, goes back, takes the Tantalus field super weapon that Kirk has been using to rise to power, and just uses it to wipe out Kirk and become God Emperor of Starfleet, or whatever the title is there.
Caesar.
Caesar, yeah, that's what they call it.
I thought this episode had a refreshingly large amount of sexism, and that was great, because who doesn't love sexism? And I thought the usage of the what's the word, Bindi, was really just a great racist touch to just, do that. Who couldn't appreciate that?
You don't get that kind of really vintage, racism and sexism these days. They do have women murdering in this episode, which it's taking a step towards today we understand that for better or for worse, women are totally capable of killing men who displease them, which provides incentives for men to be good to their girlfriend. It's overall a good thing. So and we see even the regular universe of her attacking and beating up another woman, so that's good. Anyway, tune in next week for the Apple. Next week, the amount of mandatory viewing of YouTube per day is rising to 2 hours. So, since you're going to be watching YouTube,
Might as well watch us. Or else.